Thank you. Deputy Ellis, 2 minutes.
Well, good. Minister, last week the NTA sanctioned price increases on rail and bus services. In 10 years, there's been an almost 85% increase in the lowest fares for Dublin Bus. It seems criminal that at a time when Dublin Bus passenger numbers are increasing and with further potential for growth, that these fares were proposed. Dublin Bus, in the last few years, have restructured and rejigged their routes and services, which led to great upheaval to supposedly save money, and we are now going to add to the cost of journeys by increasing cash fares by up to 15%. Dublin Bus had a surplus of 3 million last year, and that was also achieved with a cut in subvention. And the new head of Dublin Bus recently at the Transport Committee said he didn't envisage any fare increases into the future. I don't know what happened since then. It is important that we note that some LEAP card fares have been cut and increases were smaller on prepaid fares. But that is beside the point. Dublin Bus want to encourage a further move by users to LEAP and prepaid options. The problem is they are going about it in an entirely wrong way. In the context of substantial fare rises in recent years and increase in passenger numbers, Dublin Bus should be using the carrot to attract new customers generally and new LEAP card users. Instead, it is using the stick to beat cash fare users into prepaid models or out of public transport altogether. It is now possible for a person living in Finglas or Ballymun to pay nearly €6 for a round trip to the city centre. You can argue that they should have a prepaid card, but it's not so simple to have €30 or so every week to put on the card. And due to the inflexibility of LEAP in terms of top-up options, regular small top-ups are inconvenient to say the least. In order to make Dublin Bus increasingly viable into the future, we have to make it more accessible and better value. There have been big improvements, but this move shows a lot more is needed in the thinking of the company.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. 4 minutes.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. I want to thank both deputies for raising this matter. As they are aware, under the Dublin Transport Authority Act of 2008, as amended by the Public Transport Regulation Act of 2009, the National Transport Authority is responsible for determining fares in respect of publicly funded bus and rail services. I have no role in the setting of public transport fares. It is the responsibility of the NTA to adjudicate on applications from the CIE companies and the Rail Procurement Agency for fare increases or changes. On the 28th of October 2014, the National Transport Authority issued its fare determination for Luas and CIE companies covering monthly and annual tickets, cash fares, LEAP card fares and prepaid tickets. In contrast to a trend of reducing PSO obligation allowances in recent years, I have ensured that the level of PSO subvention for bus and rail services is being maintained in 2015 at current levels. The maintenance of subsidy funding for public transport for 2015 at present levels has enabled the NTA to moderate the fare increases necessary so that operators, as far as possible, can maintain the current level of services and also can respond to services where demand is growing and capacity needs to be increased. The NTA has continued its plans to increase use of the LEAP card integrated ticket by keeping fare increases to a minimum on the card when compared to cash. In fact, even with the fares increase approved by the NTA, a LEAP card fare in 2015 will nearly always be the same or lower than the cash fare in 2012. There are now over 750,000 LEAP cards in circulation and almost €2 million per week used in travel credit, which provides evidence of the convenience and value it offers to the travelling public. And I want to emphasise one point there again, which is the LEAP card fare in 2015 is nearly always the same or lower than the cash fare of 3 years ago. Before the end of the year, the NTA will introduce a second journey discount on Dublin bus Leap card fares. This will be further rolled out to cover all PSO operators in 2015. This will reduce the cash penalty currently being paid by a person who is required to change buses to make their trip from A to B. Also, an off-peak reduction in Lewis fares has been introduced for Leap card users as the cash fares for peak and off-peak have been merged. The NTA aims to increase Leap card use to simplify fares payments, improve bus journey times and cross-mode transfers. It has also incorporated a wide range in structural review of fares across and between all operators with a view to simplifying and streamlining fares to encourage increased use of public transport by removing some of the confusion that currently exists around anomalous and illogical fares and pricing. And let me conclude this point by making absolutely clear that I understand that for people who are paying cash fares, that this does represent an increase, that I understand we're asking people to pay more out of a period of having less income available to do that, but the payment they're making here is directly going into maintaining the level of public service that we have available at the moment on our bus, our Lewis and our trains, and giving our public transport companies the best capacity possible to provide a better service in the future.
Thank you,
Minister, I suppose at a time when we see huge increases in passenger numbers with Dublin Bus and on other services, it seems really hard to understand how we could be looking for price increases. I think it's counterproductive. I don't understand the logic in it. Dublin Bus had a surplus of 3 million and the subvention has been cut substantially. I know you've said you're going to try and maintain it now over the next number of years at the level it's at, but we can't afford increases like this. People are struggling, and the people who are the most affected here are the least well off, because they pay cash when they get on the bus. They might get on with a buggy, they might get on with a child, and they might be only going a number of stops. So the least well off in society is the one that's getting hit the most. And that always seems to happen every time we get an increase. And I acknowledge the Leap card. There has been huge successes in that, and that there is value for money, a lot more value for money. But the people that I meet in many of the suburbs, whether it's in Ballymun, Santry, Whitehall, Finglas, most of them don't have the lump sums to hand out for Leap cards. They might have the bare minimum amount of money at the end of a week. And that's but that's who's going to be affected. And I don't know. I know you say the NTA, the RPA have a huge. These are the ones that are given the legislative role to deal with this. But there must be some input from yourself in some way. You must be warned in advance this is going to happen. And you must have some input in saying to them, this is unacceptable in times of austerity that we have.
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. Well, there is a broader picture in relation to this, which Deputy Flanagan touched on there a moment ago, which is the fact that if I look at rail, Irish Rail alone, they have accumulated losses on their balance sheet of over €200 million. That is the scale of difficulty that has been faced there, which directly feeds into the point that Deputy Flanagan put to me there regarding a need for investment in the future. And there is a very clear need in the future for investment levels, not just to be stabilised, as I've done for next year, but to be increased in the future. And a point I want to make very clear in response to different issues that you've raised with me there is that my hope is that we are going to see within our public transport companies, due to the economic growth that we're seeing at the moment, is we will see their revenue increase because more people are using the bus, tram and rail services. We will see revenue go up behind more people using these services. And my hope and ambition is that in my time in office, I will be able to increase the investment that these companies need, particularly within rail, to deal with the capital needs that are there. Well, there is signalling work that needs to be done Some of that signalling work will take place across next year in relation to improving the signalling services that are there. But a point I have to emphasise is if we get ourselves to a point where revenue is going up because of an improving economy, and when this government is able to increase investment too, it is my expectation that the fare increases that we have seen in the past will not continue in the future in either their increase or in their frequency. Because an objective that we must have is that as we encourage and need more people to use public transport, two things must happen. The first thing is that it must be affordable, and the second thing is we have to deliver a service that meets their needs. And that will need investment to do it. It will need revenue to recover. We're seeing encouraging signs of that happening. But I'd have to say, Deputy, and I'm just concluding this point, it's only recently that we have seen the kind of increase that you're referring to actually incur month after month after month. And as those things improve, as I've already said, it's my expectation that the fare increases of the past will not be the fare increases of the future.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you.